So you're ready to list your house, but what's the actual cost of selling a house? Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Sharon Rosa and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this week's video, I want to talk to sellers, potential sellers, about closing costs and other things that you are going to have to think about before you put your house on the market. So when you're getting ready to sell your house, one of the biggest questions you're going to ask is, what should I list my house at? And your real estate agent is going to run comps for you and give you a pretty good idea of what you can get for that. But before you make that step, you need to give consideration to the things that you are going to have to spend money on in that process of listing your house. And then what are you going to have to pay from what you're getting at closing to cover your side of the closing costs? And those are things that a lot of times sellers just don't think about. So I'm going to run down about 10 items of things that you're going to have to think about in the process of selling your house. So what does it actually cost? So one of the big things that people always think about are the real estate commissions. And in Western Pennsylvania, they're anywhere from probably 5 to 6%, maybe in some cases 4 to 6.5%, but they're in that range. And then the listing agency and the buying agency split that generally. Now, if you don't want to have those costs, you can certainly do a for sale by owner. And the biggest benefit of that is that you're not going to pay those commissions. But there are some drawbacks to that. First, some buyer's agents shy away from going to for sale by owners just because sometimes those can be messy transactions. In addition to that, if you are trying to price your house, you have to try to remember to take the emotion out of it. A listing agent will help you be more realistic about what that house should be listed at. So that's something to just keep in the back of your mind if you want to list it by yourself. You're also going to have to do all your own negotiating, and sometimes people aren't good at that. They don't like that, or it gets too emotional for them, and you're going to have to do all the paperwork and make sure that everything is legal and that you're following along by the book. So you can do it, but those are some of the drawbacks, and those are all things that an agent will bring to you. And the other thing is that most agents have multiple avenues of advertising available to them that a for sale by owner person might not. But that is a place that you could save money if you wanted to. But if you're going to use an agent, you're looking at, like I said, in Western Pennsylvania, probably 5 to 6%, maybe 4 to 6.5%, but 5 to 6 is pretty common. Second, there is a train of thought to get a pre-inspection. Inspections run anywhere from $300 to $500, sometimes up to $600. The benefit to that is if you have an older house or a house that you suspect might have some issues, get the pre-inspection done and then get some bids. You'll know what those would cost. You can either decide to make the fixes yourself, or you can decide that, at the negotiating point with the buyer, you're going to offer X amount of money toward that fix. So a pre-inspection is not a horrible idea, especially if you have an older home or a home that might have some issues. Third, are you going to have professional cleaning done? Are you going to have your carpets cleaned? The going rate for carpet cleaning is somewhere between $200 to $400, but it also will depend on how big your house is, how much carpeting you have. Painting is the same thing. Somebody will give you a quote for rooms or hallways and things like that. In other videos, I've talked about renovations. Nationally, not major renovations are coming in at around $4,000, and that's just to do little things throughout your house to kind of get it to the point where it needs to be. If you talk about bigger renovations, you can go, especially kitchens or baths, you can go start at $15,000 and go all the way up to $75,000 if you're going to do one of those bigger remodels. If you're working with an agent, I strongly suggest with my sellers, Usually I talk to them a couple of months in advance of when they actually want to list their home, if I can. But I will go in and we'll discuss. I'll walk through the house and I'll say, this will give you value back, but making that fix will not. And so it's good to talk to your agent because they have a better sense of where you should invest that money if you are going to make some renovations or remodeling before listing your house. Another area that you have to think about is landscaping. We always remember to do the inside of our house, but sometimes we forget that when people pull up, or that exterior picture that's on the multi-list, that's what people see first. It's like a first impression. So the landscaping on the outside is going to be important. You don't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars, but you could. But you should step back and assess what it looks like. And at the very least, make sure that that grass is cut. If it's burned out, you want to try to do something to try to fix that. The shrubs outside or trees outside should be trimmed. If it's fall, you want to rake the leaves, but you definitely want to make sure that you have good curb appeal, because that does increase the value of your house because it's people's first impression. And so if they pull up and they're like, wow, this is beautiful, they're already thinking that it has more value. Home staging. In an earlier video, I talked about, should you pay for staging or not? That's really going to depend on what your budget is. Home staging is an excellent idea. People see that return, but if you are going to do that, then you have to look at, how much money do you have to spend or to invest in the sale of your house. Home staging can be costly. National averages are about $2,000 a month, because generally if you're going to rent furniture and things like that, the home stagers will require you to do it for 3 months. So even though the cost might be $2,000 a month, make sure you read the fine print and see how long you have to rent that furniture for. The home staging consultation generally is a couple $100s to start with, and you can get an idea of some of the things they're going to suggest. You can get the costs from them, and then you can make that decision. But keep in mind that it can be costly. If you want to stage your house yourself, go and watch some of my previous videos about the little things you can do all on your own to stage that house. And again, and I say it in video after video, the less clutter and the cleaner and neater it looks, that in of itself goes a long way. Professional photography. Should you have professional photographs on the listing? In my opinion, yes. And so that is a service that I offer my sellers. Sometimes there are agents out there that will give you the name of the photographer and you have to pay for the photography. I have a photographer that I work with that is excellent, and so I pay for that cost for my clients. And I do think that professional photography is certainly important, especially in today's day and age where everything is online. Utilities. Should you continue to pay for the utilities? Let's say you have moved out. Yes, I know that's a monthly cost. It's a cost that I would do, because when somebody is viewing a house and they come later in the evening and can't turn lights on, that's sometimes a turnoff. So keep in mind that you might have to continue to pay for your utilities even if you've moved out of that house so that they can be on. Another cost you might have would be the cost of a home warranty. If you continue to get comments, I'm worried about the age of the water heater, or I'm worried about the age of the air conditioner, or I'm worried about the things that a home warranty would cover, you might decide then to add that home warranty onto your listing, or that can be something you use in negotiations. But that cost can range anywhere for a 1-year home warranty, anywhere from $350 up to $600, depending on the elections that you have for what you want covered in that home warranty. And the last thing I want to talk about would be capital gains taxes. Now, if you are selling a primary residence, you don't have to worry about this, but if you are selling a rental home or a second residence for you and it's not your primary residence, you are going to, when you sell that, have to pay capital gains taxes unless you get involved in something called a 1031 exchange, and I will talk about that in another video. Now, a lot of those things that I've just talked about are things that you're considering as you are getting ready to list your house or as your house is on the market. The last thing would be the closing costs. Now, your agent should give you an estimate of what your closing costs are probably going to look like when you are setting the price for your house. Okay? So you should ask your agent for that. But keep in mind that the person doing your closing in Pennsylvania, now it's different in other states, but the person doing your closing should be able to give you the best estimate on what those closing costs are going to be. Because in that closing, on that HUD sheet or that ALTA, you're going to see fees for your transfer tax. You're going to see fees for property tax. That it'll be prorated, but you're going to see those. You might have title insurance, closing fee or doc prep. You'll see those line items on your ALTA or your HUD. The municipal requirements, if you had to have a dye test or if you have to have an occupancy permit, all of those things are going to be on there. And your agent, your listing agent, will talk to you about that beforehand, because especially with the dye test or the occupancy permit, your agent is going to tell you these are the things that you'll have once we get the house sold. These are the things that we're going to have to get done, and generally these are the costs for those. If there's a homeowners association, you are going to have to find out if you have to purchase certain documents or certain things that need done according to that homeowners association. So there might be some costs there. You're going to, if you're paying off a mortgage, there are probably going to be wiring fees, but keep in mind that there are going to be costs, in addition to your real estate commission costs, there are going to be costs to just actually get that house closed. So it's a lot to think about. In some cases, people list their home and they are considering, you know, I want X amount of dollars. I need to be able to walk away with X amount of dollars. And so you should play with these numbers and think about it prior to getting that house listed. What you don't want to have happen is get to the closing and look at that bottom line number and be like, wow, it's $50,000 less than I thought I was going to get. You should have a pretty good understanding for what you're going to walk away from the table with at the end of the day once that house is sold, and your agent can help you with that. So those are the things that you need to keep in mind when you're listing your house. I hope you have a great week. Don't forget to subscribe at the bottom of the page. I will see you here next Friday. Have a great week.